ceasefire or just a scenario for both sides. Iran's full-scale attack scenario on Israel, U.S. embassies, and U.S. aircraft carriers. A full-scale attack from Iran on Israel, U.S. embassies, and U.S. aircraft carriers would be an extremely dangerous escalation, potentially igniting a regional and even global conflict. Below is a hypothetical scenario of what could happen. Red Dawn scenario, Phase 1, the surprise attack. The moment. On a quiet night, the Middle Eastern sky suddenly lights up with the fiery trails of thousands of missiles. This is not an ordinary escalation, but the beginning of Red Dawn, a comprehensive and synchronized attack from Iran, targeting Israel's most strategic objectives, as well as U.S. military and diplomatic interests in the region. Iran has spent years preparing for this moment, building a massive arsenal and a network of proxy forces ready to act. 1. Steel Rain, attack on Israel. Iran's objective. Iran's primary goal is not just to inflict damage, but to cripple Israel's defenses, sow panic among the population, and force Israel to retreat from policies deemed hostile. The attack will be meticulously planned, using a target saturation tactic to overwhelm Israel's sophisticated defense systems. The first wave, opening the gates of hell, hundreds of short and medium-range ballistic missiles, Shahab-3, Imad, Ghadr, will be launched from deep fortified underground bases in Iran. They will target not only major cities like Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, but also focus heavily on critical air bases, Nevatim, Ramat David, and strategic seaports, Haifa, Ashdod, locations that could serve as points for receiving aid or deploying forces. Concurrently, Hezbollah from Lebanon will fire thousands of rockets and short-range missiles into northern Israel, placing immense pressure on the Iron Dome system. This is a classic diversionary tactic, forcing Israel to disperse its defensive resources. Gaza-based militant groups, backed by Iran, will also join in with intense rocket barrages. While these might not cause as much damage as ballistic missiles, they'll create significant psychological pressure and force the Israeli military to react. Another sensitive target is the Dimona nuclear facility. Even though Iran knows complete destruction is difficult, launching missiles into this area would send a strong message and could raise concerns about radioactive leaks, adding further pressure on Israel. Israel's defense, the firewall, Israel's multi-layered defense system, the Iron Dome for short-range rockets, David's Sling for medium-range missiles and larger rockets, and Arrow 2/3 for exo-atmospheric ballistic missiles, will operate at full capacity. Command and control centers will be lit up, with tense officers monitoring every streak on radar screens. Scenario 1. Overwhelming the Iron Dome. Despite the Iron Dome's high interception rate, with thousands of rockets and missiles from Hezbollah and Gaza, gaps will appear. Some rockets will get through, causing fires, destroying homes, and leading to civilian casualties in northern cities like Nahariya and Kiryat Shmona. Scenario 2. The David's Sling and Arrow Challenge. Iran's ballistic missiles travel at hypersonic speeds, flying at high altitudes. David's Sling and Arrow will face their biggest test yet. Many successful interceptions will be recorded, but some missiles will still penetrate, especially as Iran uses countermeasures, like dummy warheads, decoys, to jam defense radars. Consequences: Israeli air bases will be partially damaged, runways could be destroyed, forcing aircraft to take off urgently or evacuate to alternate airfields. The ports of Haifa and Ashdod could halt operations due to explosions and debris. High-rise buildings in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem might be hit, causing extensive property damage and hundreds, even thousands of deaths and injuries in the initial hours. Power and water systems could experience localized disruptions. Ghost Army, UAV attacks. Alongside missiles, Iran will launch a large number of suicide UAVs, like the Shahed 136, and reconnaissance UAVs. Their goal is to overload Israel's air defense systems, deplete expensive interceptor missiles, and provide real-time intelligence on damage in Israel's response. Intriguing scenario. Some UAVs might fly low, evading radar, and strike sensitive targets like communication centers, small power stations, or even military vehicles moving on highways, creating chaos and delaying Israel's response. 2. Red smoke at U.S. embassies. Iran's objective. Iran wants to send a clear message to Washington. Any U.S. intervention will come at a cost. Attacking U.S. embassies is a way to exert diplomatic and psychological pressure, while also testing America's ability to protect its citizens and interests. Synchronized attacks. Fire rising. Simultaneously with the attack on Israel, Iranian-backed Shiite militia groups in Iraq, e.g., Kataib Hezbollah, Asaib al-Haq, and Syria will be activated. They'll launch rockets and mortars at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, the Green Zone, and U.S. military bases in the region Al-Assad Konako. In Beirut, Lebanon, pro-Iran extremist elements might carry out car bomb attacks or direct gunfights in the vicinity of the U.S. Embassy, leading to a hostage crisis or significant casualties. Even smaller acts of sabotage or violent protest could erupt near the U.S. Embassy in Amman, Jordan, or other sensitive locations, instigated by Iranian intelligence networks. Consequences. Panic and evacuation. Embassies will immediately issue evacuation warnings. Non-essential personnel and their families will be moved to safer areas or evacuated from the country. Casualties. The likelihood of casualties among diplomatic and security personnel is very high, especially in high-risk areas like Baghdad or Beirut. This will trigger a strong wave of outrage in the U.S. Blockade and destruction. Some embassies might be blockaded by armed groups or heavily damaged by rocket attacks. Facilities and classified documents could be compromised. Political message. This attack will be a severe blow to the U.S. image and presence in the region, forcing Washington to issue a strong response. 3. Ocean's fury. Attack on U.S. aircraft carriers. Iran's objective. U.S. aircraft carriers are a symbol of Washington's power and military projection capability. Attacking a carrier strike group would be an immensely powerful psychological blow and aims to undermine America's ability to conduct retaliatory airstrikes from the sea. Attack tactics. Black Sea arrows. Anti-ship missiles. Iran will use advanced anti-ship missiles like the Khalij Fires, an anti-ship version of the Fateh 110, capable of striking moving warships, and other anti-ship cruise missiles, like Noor, Ghadar, launched from coastal batteries or from small, highly maneuverable warships. Wolf Pack of the Sea, fast boats and mini-submarines. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, possesses a large fleet of fast boats, equipped with rockets and torpedoes. These will be deployed in large numbers in the Persian Gulf and Strait of Hormuz, attempting to close in and overwhelm the carrier strike group's defenses. Mini-submarines like the Ghadir class might try to launch torpedoes at close range. Sea attack UAVs. Iran will also use UAVs capable of striking maritime targets, flying low to evade radar, and attacking sensitive areas on the ships, like the bridge flight deck. U.S. defense, Aegis Shield, Aegis system and missiles. Destroyers and cruisers within the carrier strike group, equipped with the Aegis system and air defense missiles, RIM-162, ESSM, SM-2, SM-6, will form the first layer of defense. They will operate at maximum intensity, launching hundreds of interceptor missiles to counter Iran's anti-ship missile onslaught. Close-in weapon systems, CIWS. As missiles and UAVs breach the outer defenses, the phalanx CIWS on the aircraft carrier and escort ships will fire furiously, creating a curtain of projectiles to destroy threats at extremely close range. Fighter jets, FA-18, Super Hornets from the aircraft carrier will be launched for combat air patrol CAP, intercepting Iranian UAVs and attack aircraft if they get close enough. Intriguing scenario, coordinated attack. Iran could coordinate long-range missile attacks with close-range assaults by fast boats and mini-submarines. This would force U.S. defenses to contend with multiple simultaneous threats from various directions and ranges, increasing the likelihood of being overwhelmed. Survivability and consequences. Significant damage. Even with advanced defense systems, a saturation attack could allow one or two anti-ship missiles or UAVs to get through and hit the aircraft carrier or its escorts. This could cause fires, damage critical systems, like aircraft launch systems, bridge, or temporarily cripple the ship's operational capability. Casualties. There will be casualties among the crew. Carrier temporarily neutralized. Iran's goal isn't necessarily to sink the aircraft carrier, but to severely damage or temporarily neutralize it, forcing it to withdraw for repairs or limiting its ability to project air power. This would be a significant blow to U.S. prestige and deterrence capabilities. Threat to maritime traffic. Attacks on aircraft carriers and intense military activity in the Persian Gulf will completely halt maritime traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, causing an immediate global energy crisis. Red Dawn scenario, phases 2 and 3, global response and consequences. As the sirens still echo and the smoke has yet to clear from phase 1, the world will enter an unprecedented period of chaos. This is not just a regional conflict, but a comprehensive challenge to the global geopolitical, economic, and security order. Phase 2, immediate response, the vortex of vengeance, hour H plus hours per days. The surprise of the initial attack will quickly give way to a fierce and calculated response from the attacked parties. Israel's response. No quarter given Israel, a nation with high self-defense capabilities and a military doctrine based on preemptive strikes, will react with maximum speed and force. Retaliatory airstrikes, thunderstorm over Tehran, priority targets. Israel's first targets will be Iran's remaining missile launch sites, military command and control centers, and facilities related to Iran's nuclear program. Israel has spent decades gathering intelligence on these locations, and now is the time to use it. Underground missile bases, uranium enrichment plants at Fordo and Natanz, as well as nuclear research facilities, will be top priorities. Air Force. Squadrons of F-16, I-Sufa, and especially F-35I, Adir, will play a key role. The F-35, with its stealth capabilities and superior data integration, will lead deep penetration strikes into Iranian territory, neutralizing Iran's S-300 air defense systems and paving the way for other aircraft. Airstrikes will be continuous for many hours, even days. Intriguing scenario. Race against time. Iran, anticipating a retaliatory airstrike, will attempt to move or camouflage its remaining nuclear and missile assets. Israeli unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, and satellites will work tirelessly to track and identify these mobile targets. There will be high-speed hunts where decisions made in minutes could change the outcome. Paralysis tactics. Israel will not only attack military targets, but also target critical infrastructure such as power substations, oil refineries, and telecommunications centers to cause widespread disruption, weakening Iran's ability to operate and sustain the war. The goal is to paralyze the country, forcing the Iranian leadership to reconsider ground offensive, control and destroy, special operations. If the situation escalates further and strategic targets cannot be completely destroyed by airstrikes, Israeli special forces, Sayeret Matkal, Shaldag, could be deployed to carry out raid and destroy missions on underground facilities or to capture key figures in Iran's nuclear missile program. These will be extremely risky missions, requiring perfect coordination. Response to Hezbollah. Against Hezbollah, Israel will not only strike rocket launch sites, but also conduct limited ground incursions into southern Lebanon to establish a security buffer, destroy cross-border tunnels, and Hezbollah's underground bases. Infantry and tank units will advance under artillery and air support. Intriguing scenario. Urban hell scenario in Lebanon. If ground combat in Lebanon spills into densely populated urban areas, it will turn into a fierce urban war, causing massive civilian casualties and creating a severe humanitarian crisis that will draw international attention and condemnation. U.S. response. Total force. Following the attacks on its embassies and especially the aircraft carriers, the U.S. response will be unwavering, driven by a determination to protect its citizens and national interests, as well as to restore its credibility. Retaliatory airstrikes, rain of 1,000-ton bombs, scale and objectives. The U.S. Air Force, with squadrons of F-15E, F-16, B-1B Lancers, and B-52H Stratofortresses, if deployed from afar, will conduct airstrikes significantly larger than Israel's. Targets will include remaining missile launch sites, command and control C-2 facilities, weapons manufacturing plants, military depots, and key IRGC Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps units. U.S. aircraft carriers, if operational, will serve as primary launch platforms for long-range attacks. Bunker-busting bombs. The U.S. may use bunker-busting bombs like the GBU-57 MOP, Massive Ordnance Penetrator, to strike Iran's deeply buried nuclear and missile facilities, causing severe damage to these programs. Intriguing scenario, the mobile missile hunt. Iran may use mobile missile launchers to continue attacks. The U.S. will deploy J-STARS surveillance aircraft and Global Hawk UAVs to continuously scan and detect these launchers from above, then direct fighter jets to strike quickly. This will be a relentless race between Iran's ability to hide and America's ability to detect. Force reinforcement, overwhelming power, emergency deployment. Within hours, C-17 transport aircraft will continuously land at U.S. bases in the region, Qatar, UAE, Kuwait, carrying troops, equipment, and ammunition. Other carrier strike groups, if available, will be urgently deployed to the Middle East, along with amphibious assault ships carrying Marines. Tomahawk missiles, U.S. warships and submarines in the region will launch barrages of Tomahawk cruise missiles at Iran's strategic targets, providing a precise strike from the sea without immediately putting pilots in danger. Intriguing scenario, logistical challenge. Deploying forces on such a large scale will create an immense logistical challenge. Iran may try to attack the ports and airfields the U.S. uses as transit points, causing bottlenecks and delaying reinforcements. This could lead to intense clashes at sea and on land as the U.S. tries to protect its supply lines. Cyber attack, war in the shadows, U.S.-Israel. Coordination. Cyber warfare units from both the U.S. and Israel will coordinate large-scale cyber attacks aimed at crippling Iran's national power grid, telecommunication system, and military command network. Deeper targets. Cyber attacks may target air traffic control systems, banks, and public transportation systems, causing civil disruption and reducing Iran's ability to maintain order in military response. Intriguing scenario. The battle of wits. Iran also possesses a significant cyber force and will attempt to retaliate, even striking back at U.S. and Israeli systems. This will be a silent but fierce war where hackers and cybersecurity experts constantly try to penetrate and defend their networks. Iran's response, nothing left to lose. Facing fierce retaliation from two military powers, Iran will continue to fight on its own terms, employing an asymmetric strategy and relying on its network of proxies. Continued attacks, desperate resistance, missiles and UAVs. Iran will continue to launch its remaining missiles and UAVs at Israel and U.S. bases in the region, albeit with reduced frequency and scale due to damage from airstrikes. They might use well-camouflaged mobile launchers for shoot-and-scoot attacks. Intriguing scenario. Ground suicides. In a desperate situation, Iran could activate suicide units or small combat teams to carry out suicide bombings or ambushes targeting Israeli and U.S. objectives in the region. Activation of proxy forces, regional firestorm, Hezbollah. Hezbollah will be Iran's most dangerous extension. They will intensify attacks on northern Israel, possibly using more precise missiles, if available, and small cross-border raids. Houthis and groups in Iraq, Syria. Houthi forces in Yemen will continue launching missiles and UAVs at Saudi Arabia and the UAE, pressuring U.S. allies. Militia groups in Iraq and Syria will escalate attacks on U.S. bases and may target energy facilities or infrastructure in neighboring countries. Intriguing scenario. Escalating proxy war. Clashes between Iranian proxy forces and U.S.-Israeli-backed forces, or directly U.S.-Israeli military, will erupt across the Middle East. This could turn Iraq, Syria, and Yemen into vast secondary battlefields, making the conflict multidimensional and more complex. Threat to the Strait of Hormuz. The last card, partial or full blockade. Iran will threaten or even implement a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz by laying mines, deploying suicide fast boats, or attacking oil tankers passing through. The goal is to cause the largest possible shock to the global oil market and force major powers to intervene to stop the war. Intriguing scenario, battle at sea. The U.S. Navy will be forced to launch a large-scale operation to clear mines and protect oil shipping lanes. There will be intense clashes between the U.S. Navy and IRGC vessels, potentially leading to damaged or sunken warships, escalating the conflict to a new level. Phase 3. Consequences and escalation risks. The New World Map. Days, weeks later. When the dust of war settles, a devastating picture and a new world order will gradually emerge. Casualties and damage. The price in blood and iron. Israel will suffer the most severe damage among the directly attacked nations. Thousands will be dead or wounded, and many cities heavily damaged. Civilian and military infrastructure will take years to recover. Its economy will collapse. Iran will face horrific devastation. Major cities could be reduced to rubble, and military and nuclear infrastructure severely damaged or destroyed. Its economy will be completely exhausted, and oil production capabilities halted. The death and injury toll will reach tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands. United States may lose several warships or suffer severe damage, aircraft, and significant military casualties. War costs will run into hundreds of billions, even trillions of dollars. Its military and diplomatic prestige will be tested. Global economy, financial tsunami. Oil prices. Oil prices will skyrocket to unprecedented levels, e.g., $200 to $300 per barrel or more, triggering a global energy crisis. Oil-dependent economies will collapse. Financial markets. Global stock markets will reel, potentially crashing, leading to a worldwide economic recession worse than the 2008 crisis. Investors will withdraw capital from risky markets seeking safe haven assets. Supply chains. The blockade of the Strait of Hormuz and attacks on transportation infrastructure will disrupt global supply chains, causing essential goods shortages and hyperinflation. International response, broken order, United Nations and diplomacy. The United Nations and world powers will call for an immediate ceasefire, but the chances of success are very low as parties are engaged in a no-quarter-given war. Diplomatic efforts will be stalemated as both Iran and the U.S.-Israel refuse to concede. Regional division. Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Bahrain will side with the U.S. and Israel, providing military bases and logistical support. They could be drawn into direct conflict with Iran or its proxy forces, creating a second front. Neighboring countries. Iraq and Syria will sink deeper into chaos as local militias and foreign forces clash more intensely. Intriguing scenario. Massive exodus. Millions of people from Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon will become refugees, creating a colossal migration crisis, putting immense pressure on neighboring countries in Europe. Risk of nuclear escalation, brink of annihilation. This is the most terrifying risk and a factor that could completely change the course of the war and the fate of humanity. Iran and the last weapon. Scenario 1. Accelerated program. If Iran's nuclear facilities are destroyed or severely threatened, the Iranian leadership might decide to openly develop nuclear weapons at maximum speed, defying all international resolutions. They could declare withdrawal from the NPT, Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. Scenario 2. Chemical-biological deterrence. Iran is believed to have a chemical-biological weapons program. If they feel cornered, there's a small but terrifying risk they'd use these weapons to attack Israel or U.S. bases, even though it would lead to extreme international condemnation in response. Intriguing scenario. Last-minute decision. In a context where Tehran is under fierce attack and the regime faces a severe threat of collapse, a small group of extremist leaders might make a reckless decision to use or activate a rudimentary nuclear device as a meaningful suicide act to deter or cause maximum destruction. Israel and the Samson option. If Israel faces the risk of complete annihilation, e.g. a large-scale nuclear or chemical-biological attack from Iran, or an unbearable conventional attack, they might activate the Samson option, the unofficial military doctrine of using their nuclear arsenal as a final act of retaliation, aiming for mutual assured destruction. Intriguing scenario. The red button. In a heavily fortified underground bunker beneath Jerusalem, the Israeli Prime Minister and senior military advisors will face a historic decision. Will they press the nuclear button to preserve the nation's existence, or accept defeat and await external intervention? Broader international intervention, the New World Order, Russia and China. Russia will strongly condemn U.S. and Israeli actions, but likely won't intervene militarily unless its core interests are threatened, e.g., bases in Syria. Russia might increase military aid to Iran, though too late to change the battlefield outcome, and leverage the situation to weaken U.S. influence in the region. They might also seek to play a mediating role, but success would be very difficult. China will initially call for restraint and seek diplomatic solutions. However, its dependence on Middle Eastern oil will force Beijing to protect its economic interests. China might deploy its navy to protect maritime shipping routes if the Strait of Hormuz is blockaded, but direct military intervention in the conflict is unlikely. They will capitalize on the chaos to solidify their position on the international stage. European Union will be deeply divided. Some countries will condemn Iran, while others will call for restraint and diplomatic solutions. Europe will face a severe energy and refugee crisis. Intriguing scenario: unstable multipolar world. This war will completely shatter any illusions of a unipolar world order. It will accelerate the formation of a multipolar world, but one that is unstable and extremely dangerous, where major powers compete more fiercely than ever for influence and resources. Conclusion: the Red Dawn scenario is a terrifying prospect. It outlines a conflict not limited to national borders, but one that spreads throughout the entire region and profoundly affects the global economy, politics, and security. Casualties and damage will be immense, and the risk of nuclear escalation will constantly loom, turning this war into a historical catastrophe. This scenario serves as a reminder of the fragility of peace and the dire consequences when tensions escalate beyond control. Would you like to continue exploring any other aspects of this scenario or move to a new topic? Please follow and subscribe to our channel for the fastest updates on global situations. Thank you all very much.